The high-level general debate of the 77th session of the UN General Assembly gathers heads of state and high officials in New York. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the formation of a multipolar world and more democratic and just world order system is ongoing. In Myanmar, at least 11 children died and several are missing following an airstrike on civilian areas that included a school. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. In New York, the United States, United Nations started the first day of the high-level general debate of the 77th session of its General Assembly. This is the first entirely in-person General Assembly meeting since the start of the pandemic. Heads of state, heads of government, and top diplomats are attending from around the globe. Among the main topics, they discuss global conflicts, economic fallout after COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and the social inequities and minorities still face worldwide. The many challenges that defined the 76th session of the General Assembly are still very much around as the new session starts, as the world needs expedite long-term solutions to its hardships, according to the UN President Sabah Cross's statements ahead of the debate session. And opening the United Nations 77th General Assembly, its Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned international leaders of an impending global discontent in a world hit by multiple crises, from the conflict in Ukraine to a warming climate.
Excellencies, we need action across the board. Let's have no illusions. We are in rough seas. A winter of global discontent is on the horizon. A cost of living crisis is raging, trust is crumbling, inequalities are exploding, and our planet is burning. People are hurting, with the most vulnerable suffering the most.
And delivering his State of the World speech, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres summarized the current situation of many countries around the globe, specifically violent events that persist nowadays.
In Afghanistan, the economy is in ruins. Over half of all Afghans face extreme levels of hunger, while human rights, particularly the rights of women and girls, are being trampled. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, armed groups in the east are terrorizing civilians and inflaming regional tensions. In the Horn of Africa, an unprecedented drought is threatening the lives and livelihoods of 22 million people. In Ethiopia, fighting has resumed, underscoring the need for the parties to immediately cease hostilities and return to the peace table. In Afghanistan, gangs are destroying the very building blocks of society. In Libya, divisions continue to jeopardize the country. In Iraq, ongoing tensions threaten stability. In Israel and Palestine, cycles of violence under the occupation continue as prospects for peace based on a two-state solution grow ever more distant. In Myanmar, the appalling humanitarian, human rights, and security situation is deteriorating by the day. In the Sahel, alarming levels of insecurity and terrorist activity amidst rising humanitarian needs continue to grow. In Syria, violence and hardship.
Meanwhile, Colombian President Gustavo Petro called on every nation to devote the necessary resources to save the Amazon jungle.
That we put an end to the war on drugs and make it possible for our people to live in peace. I call on all of Latin America to join us in this purpose. I call the voice of Latin America to be united to defeat the irrational world that is killing us. I call on you to save the Amazon jungle with the resources that can be devoted.
Speaking before the United Nations General Assembly, the President of Senegal, Macky Sall, reiterated the right of the Palestinian people to a viable state and to live in peace while coexisting with the State of Israel.
We reiterate the right of the Palestinian people to a viable state, living side by side in peace with the State of Israel, each within secure and internationally recognized borders. We call for a de-escalation and a cessation of hostilities in Ukraine, as well as for a negotiated solution to avoid the catastrophic risk of a potentially global conflict.
The Senegalese head of state also reaffirmed his request for the African Union to be granted a seat in the G20.
In the same vein, I reaffirm our request for the African Union to be granted a seat in the G20 so that Africa can finally be represented where decisions that affect 1,400,000,000 Africans are being taken.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the formation of a multipolar, more democratic and more just world system is ongoing. He made the comment at a ceremony to welcome 24 new foreign ambassadors in Moscow. The Russian president said that their mere welcoming ceremony is the first step towards a more democratic and just world. In this regard, Putin said that a transformation towards a multipolar system is taking place, and he stressed that global development towards a multipolar system is encountering resistance from those who try to maintain their hegemonic role in international affairs.
Именно с таких позиций Россия будет выступать на открывшихся взаимовыгодных связях.
Also in the same context, the Russian head of state said Venezuela is a strategic partner and ally of the Russian Federation. At a ceremony where he received the credentials of new 24 ambassadors to Russia, President Putin said Venezuela is a reliable ally of Russia in Latin America and in the world in general. Putin said both nations maintain a constant dialogue and emphasized that they hold close or coinciding positions on several issues of the international agenda. Putin said Moscow foresees developing bilateral cooperation with Caracas in such areas as energy, industry, infrastructure, transport, and pharmaceuticals. The authorities of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic have urged Moscow for a speedy unification with Russia following a referendum. The head of the self-proclaimed Republic of Donetsk, Denis Pushilin, urged Russian President Vladimir Putin to consider a prompt unification of this region with Russia in case of the decision of the referendum is positive. Pushilin said his people deserve to be part of the great country, which they have always considered their homeland. He also said the referendum is scheduled to be held between September 23rd and 27th, and that the voting will be telematic, so Donetsk citizens who are currently abroad will be able to vote remotely. Export businesses in Turkey have seen diminishing orders from these European trade partners, as the bloc is grappling with the energy crisis with numerous demands. As one of the world's leading textile exporters, Turkey exports 70% of its garments mainly to the EU. However, the export businesses of this sector have seen a drop in orders from the bloc since the geopolitical tensions and inflation further intensified the energy crisis. In 2021, the EU was Turkey's Turkey's biggest export partner, engrossing 41% of its exports. Data show that the share of Turkey's exports to Europe in August was lower than that of the same month last year in many industries, such as automobile, manufacturing, and steel.
With gas crisis, it especially shuts the demand from Turkey. There will be a negative result on Turkish machinery sector demand from European Union countries.
There is a winner, United States of America, because they are now producing more gas than ever, and they are going to export it to European Union with a high price, which means their shale industry will also benefit from it.
Police in Georgia said on Tuesday that 12 people were being held hostage by a gunman in a bank in the city of Kutaisi. Georgian media reported that the man, who is yet to be identified, demanded $2 million and a helicopter to leave the country. He announced his demands in a video posted on one of the hostages' Facebook page. It was not immediately clear whether anyone was injured in the standoff, which took place in the branch of Bank of Georgia that has lasted several hours. The country's police opened an investigation on multiple charges, including terrorism, and said an effort to release the hostages was underway. In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces detained 14 citizens in the occupied territories, 6 of them residents of East Jerusalem. Palestinian authorities report that at least 14 arbitrary arrests in different parts of the occupied territories over the last 24 hours. They said that Israeli soldiers raided villages, set up vehicle checkpoints in several regions, claiming they were searching for terrorist assets. This as part of the so-called Break the Wave operation, in which joint Israeli security forces involving the security agency and the border police carried out operations in several towns and villages Monday night. And systematic violence continues in Colombia. The Institute for Development and Peace Studies in the past registered the 80th massacre so far this year. According to the INDI-PAS report, 4 men were killed in the village of El Caribe in the municipality of Puerto Lleras. So far, the identity of the victims is unknown. Their bodies had several markings of violence and that they are young men between the ages of 20 and 25. The Ombudsman's office issued an early warning, pointed out the risk scenario for human rights violations in the municipalities of Puerto Rico, Puerto Lleras, and Vista Hermosa by armed groups in the region. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. At least 11 children died and several are missing following an airstrike on civilian areas that included a school. The United Nations Children's Fund said the strike occurred in Tabayan Township in the Sagaing region of northwestern Myanmar. UNICEF also called for the immediate safe release of 15 children from the same school that are still missing. Local media reported that 2 military helicopters attacked the school, followed by a raid by ground troops. Myanmar has been in chaos since the military seized power in a coup in February last year, with nearly 2,300 civilians killed in a crackdown. Uganda's health ministry on Tuesday announced the country's first fatality from the highly contagious Ebola virus since 2019, declaring an outbreak in the central district of Mubende. In a statement, the World Health Organization said a 24-year-old man in Mubende has tested positive for the Sudan strain of the virus. This followed an investigation by the National Rapid Response Team of 6 suspicious deaths that occurred in the district in September. WHO Africa Director Mashirizo Moeti stated that the organization is working closely with the country's health authorities to investigate the source of the outbreak while supporting efforts to quickly launch effective control measures. Uganda has experienced several Ebola outbreaks in the past, most recently in 2019, when at least 5 people died.
Uganda Virus Research Institute Sudan on 15th of September, there was 124 male suspected case who reported in Mubende Hospital. I want to assure the public and the international community that Uganda is well known for handling epidemics, and therefore we have capacity, we have the skills, we have what it takes to contain this Ebola. And so we want to ask to stay calm and let you know that we are going to handle this epidemic precisely.
Now we move on to other topics. According to the latest data released by the World Health Organization, as of this Monday, the world had confirmed over 609 million COVID-19 cases, with the death toll topping 6.5 million. The U.S. has the lead in the number of daily reported cases, whereas South Korea and India had a significant decrease. With winter approaching in the Northern Hemisphere, experts predict a spike in the number of cases based on previous year's experience. Meanwhile, Pakistan launched a vaccination campaign for children aged 5 to 11. Malaysia is also amid a vaccination campaign, with over 84% of its population having been fully vaccinated. And in Australia, the government had decided to allot additional funding over the next 3 months for prevention and for boosting the national medical stockpile to guarantee supply of personal protection equipment. A senior Chinese government official on Tuesday said adjustments to Hong Kong's strict coronavirus measures are understandable. The comments came as Hong Kong is discussing changes to its quarantine policies for inbound travelers that were imposed in line with the Chinese mainland's zero-COVID policies.
The Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China will also coordinate the epidemic prevention and control, along with economic and social development, according to the changes in the global and Hong Kong epidemic situation and the actual situation of Hong Kong, and adjust and optimize how Hong Kong's epidemic prevention and control measures according to the situation. From my point of view, the adjustments made by the SAR government are understandable, and there is no need for overinterpretation.
This September 24th, TeleSUR invites you to see a brand new documentary titled Alex Saab, A Kidnapped Diplomat. The audiovisual features testimonies from lawyers, experts, and family members of Alex Saab, including his wife, Camilla Fabry. All of them will reveal details never known before about the first kidnapping of a diplomat in the history of the world. It also compiles the actions taken by the U.S. government toward countries and individuals to ambush Saab in Cape Verde. Authorities in the island country imprisoned the Venezuelan high government official without an arrest warrant against him. Don't miss the documentary, Alex Saab, A Kidnapped Diplomat, only on TeleSUR. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And you can also follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.